Welcome to the Zaleski Sports Show. I'm your host, Rachel Zaleski, and today we're going to be talking about high school spring sports, the Milwaukee Brewers, and a tradition unlike any other, the Masters. It's all yours, and it's all now. Spring sports in Wisconsin can only mean one thing, right, Jason?
Postponements.
Oh, postponements.
Postponements, cancellations, reschedules, doubleheaders.
Aside from postponements and cancellations, what else can we expect when the ball is in the air or the gun goes off and the gun sounds?
Right. Right, track meet, That's time to roll. Well, here's what we can expect. We can still expect a lot of fun, even though we're still ankle deep in snow right now. It's going to melt soon.
Some would question that it's not ankle deep, that it's much higher.
Well, all right. We'll concede just being somewhere around that depth. The snow will melt soon. It's supposed to be in the 50s here later on this week, and that'll mean we'll be able to get back on the fields, whether that's soccer, baseball, softball, track and field, golf, you name it. I'm probably skipping it. Maybe there's a croquet team out there somewhere. It's all happening soon, so just stay tuned. Live streams will be available. ZaleskiSports.com is your place for the live streams, and we'll be at it soon. Highlights are coming; they're just around the corner. I can feel it.
Yes, that'd be so nice. Hopefully the mosquitoes don't come out this year either, but I'm sure they're just ready.
Well, now you're just asking for trouble. Now, with all that being said, our somewhat famous series, Coach on the Couch, has already started, and we'll have a whole bevy of coaches on a couch somewhere coming to a TV screen near you. There's one out now. Be one out later this week too. So those are all starting, and so we get to see season previews for the teams before they take the field or the track.
Thrilling.
Yeah.
So, Jason, the Milwaukee Bucks have one game left, and the Milwaukee Brewers have a few more.
They've got a few more than one.
Yeah. So bring us up to speed on that.
All right. Well, we'll start with the Bucks. Not a whole lot to say there. They are the 6th seed. They will play Philadelphia, the 76ers. No coincidence to being the 6th seed. Philadelphia's the 3 seed. Playoff series will start next week. They've been resting Giannis Antetokounmpo for the last few games. A couple bumps and bruises, Rachel. Make sure to get him completely 100% before the playoffs begin. As a 6th seed, you're going to need a healthy Giannis and a healthy everyone else to challenge teams like Philadelphia, Toronto, Cleveland, you name it. So, interesting, in the East, all teams that made the playoffs are above 500. Everybody that's below that line is below 500. So, seems fair, right?
Seems fair.
Yeah. Well, over in the West, both the Nuggets and the Clippers are above 500, and they're out. So 10 teams in the West above 500, only the top 8 make it. So better to be in the East with a poor record this year than in the West with a good record.
Wow.
So playoffs start soon in the NBA. We'll probably talk about them again in June.
Good.
Okay. Brewers, you want to talk about the Brewers a little bit? Okay. They've got a few more games than the Bucks do. They've got over 100 games left. Here's what we know. We talked, Rachel, last week about an important stretch for the Brewers, at least early season stretch, to see where they really stand at this point in the season. It's a long season. Games won or lost now don't matter a whole lot at the end of the year, unless, of course, you're one game from missing the playoffs, and you maybe think back to April and, geez, if we could have won that game. But by and large, those games don't equal much right now. But here's what we learned. The Brewers have played 8 games, or of the 8 games they've played in the NL Central so far, they've lost 5. Not good. No. Of those 5 losses, shutout 3 times. Double not good. No, that puts them squarely in 3rd place right now. I think that my prediction was somewhere between 2nd and 3rd place after what I saw against the Cubs and Cardinals. Probably a 3rd place team. They haven't been helped with injuries. Injury bug has already infected the Brewers. Yeah, I know. Many players out. Yelich out. Kane hurt against the Cubs, running down first base, stepped on the first baseman's ankle, pulled his quad in the process. And then, of course, closer Corey Knebel is on the shelf for up to 8 weeks with a pulled hamstring. He threw a pitch and just collapsed on the mound. Initial thoughts were he could have been out for the season. He's out for 2 months. That could be a problem in those one-run games, and the Brewers have had their fair share of one-run games this year. Fortunately, winning almost all of them. You take a couple of those away, and the Brewers could be even in worse shape than they are now. So they're going to relieve by committee going forward for the next 6 to 8 weeks until Knebel is back. We'll see who, if anybody's able to take that job. The same thing did happen last year, except due to inefficiency rather than injury. Neftali Feliz was yanked out of the closing role. Knebel was inserted, and off he went. He had a really great year and got that spot this year. But as it stands now, 3 significant injuries, I would call them, right now, and we're only 2 weeks into the season. And the Brewers are going to have to step it up. Now, when they play their NL Central foes, they're going to have to do better than 3 wins out of 8 games.
I agree.
Yeah.
Now, pimento cheese sandwiches.
Yeah.
Lemonade and fresh cut grass. Yeah. It's a tradition unlike any other.
It really is.
It's the Masters.
Yeah, it really is. And I'll add, Rachel, perfectly sculpted fairways.
He mentioned this multiple times when we were watching the Masters this weekend.
You couldn't paint a picture better than they have Augusta National Golf Club.
It's beautiful.
As they have it groomed, and I mean, it is, you couldn't draw it better than they actually have it in real life. It is amazing. The fairway, the green color is consistent from the tee box all the way to the green. The rough, just a shade darker than the fairway, is that same exact shade, that same Pantone from the tee box all the way to the green. It's crazy. Yep. It is just crazy what they put into that golf course. And with $11 million being given out to finishing participants on Sunday, apparently they got some money to make those kind of things happen. I don't have that kind of scratch.
Didn't his shirt match the azaleas on the night?
Yeah, he had kind of a, really I don't know what you call it, pinkish purple.
Yeah, beautiful.
I don't know all the names for that.
Beautiful.
I'm a sports guy, I'm not a painter. So, but what I do know, yes, it matched a couple of the colors that were in the background. Patrick Reed is who you're talking about. He won the Masters, 2018 Masters champion, 15 under.
Wow.
Yeah, and he went to college at Augusta State, right there in Augusta, Georgia. So kind of a nice little tie in there. Ricky Fowler, also known to wear some bright colors on the golf course, and on Sunday he wears his Oklahoma State orange, and he did again this year. He finished one back at 14 under, and then really the story, I mean, usually the story is the guy that won. He's the big story of the tournament, and there's enough to be said about Patrick Reed, no doubt about that. Jordan Spieth, who you talked about on the show last week, being a friend of our show by proxy, being a friend of Tony Romo's. Yes.
That's like such a distant proxy, but yeah.
Well, 6 degrees of separation. I think he's on a third or something like that. Wow. Anyway, started out the day on Sunday, 10 shots off the lead, right? The Dallas Morning News, his hometown newspaper, wrote a feature article that came out Sunday morning on how Jordan Spieth put himself out of contention. Starts at 10 shots back, and by the time he got to hole number 15, he was 1 stroke off the lead. He had played at that point to 8 under par. He by far had the best round. He was 1 shot off of the course record. He tied the course record with a 64. We'll go through his scorecard here in just a minute. But he was really, for me, the story of the tournament. To come storming back like he did. I mean, he was hot as a golfer could be. He was draining putts from anywhere on the golf course. His approach shots were landing within 10, 5, sometimes 2 feet of the pin. And he really had a chance. I said, Rachel, he finished 2 back of Reed on the 18th hole. And again, he was red hot. On the 18th hole, he was attempting to position his drive, his first shot, in a particular place in the fairway to have a shot at birdie. And I thought I mean, why wouldn't he have another birdie here? Right. And he would have tied Reed at that point. He clipped a pine needle on the branch of a pine tree on his drive. That drive went about 50 yards, which is about my style, and then bogeyed the hole. But he needed that precision. He needed to hit that ball on just a shade under that trajectory to put that ball where he wanted to have a chance at that birdie, to make a shot at the green jacket, and came up a pine needle width short. It's the Masters, a tradition unlike any other.
Yeah, I was saying when I was watching that there was a few putts that he made that he just was not at all cautious. To me, from an outsider, that he just was like going right for it, cutthroat, right to the hole. And it's just like some people would play it safe, I would think, and just putt. You know, or at least that's how I would play it.
Well, we'll just 30 seconds. We'll talk about that. So that's just strategy. That's golf strategy. Again, he started out 10 back. He had nothing to lose, right? Worst case, he plays aggressive. He goes for every pin, and he finishes 10 strokes back. Okay, big deal, right? I'm already 10 strokes back. So when you're in that position, you have the ability, you've got the choice to go at every hole, every time, and it worked out for him. He was able to really dial it up, and he hit the putts, which is important. when you've got a big lead, Reed started the day with a four-stroke lead, you've got the ability to play conservative. You know, if I par every hole, if I just play average today, I win. Yep. I don't have to do anything spectacular. So sometimes you'll see those golfers be a little more mundane, a little more processed with their shots, and sometimes you'll see Jordan Spieth go out there and tear it up. And when you've got the talent that guy does, you can make a 10-stroke comeback. But you got to play aggressive, and that's a risk reward. And sometimes in these tournaments, so there were other players, Rachel, on Sunday that flamed out, yep. but they were going for that 10-shot rebound. Right. So it works both ways.
All right, so moving on to our Sports 101, in keeping with golf. So talk about scorekeeping itself. Like there's circles and there's squares yeah. and there's lots of color, and so I just didn't know if you could explain that a little bit to us.
Well, I certainly will. Oh. And the whiteboard is back. I know a lot of people talk about the whiteboard and what we can do to get the whiteboard back, and it's there. So I think we've got a pretty good view on it there. You know, Rachel, a lot of people like watching the show. A lot of people like watching the show because of the whiteboard. We found that out a number of months ago. Good. So this is Jordan Spieth's scorecard from Sunday. So we'll just go through some basics, Rachel. So the whole number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then the par, that's the number of shots the golf course assigns to say this is the standard for that hole. You should get, it should only take you 4 shots on hole number 1 to go from tee to hole. Yep. Okay? All right. So, and then Jordan scores underneath that. So for the first hole, the par was 4, score was 3. So that's 1 under, right?
That is a 3. Everyone.
Yeah, well, it is a 3. So I don't know.
I think, like a 2.
Well, you know, Jordan came over earlier today and he wrote this on the scoreboard for us here. So,
sure did.
So I'm going to stand up and we're going to do some scoring here.
All right.
All right. So here's how it works. And this is for easy calculation while you're on the golf course. Okay. So a birdie is a circle.
Okay.
Okay. So birdie there, that's a circle. A par is nothing. There's no geometry with the par at all. Okay. So circle there for a birdie. And circle there for a birdie. Stephen's going to make sure I don't miss any.
Birdie on the end.
Oh, thank you, Rachel. You're also very good at this. Okay, and then par, a birdie there. Another birdie. So you had a fantastic round.
Yes, he did.
There's no doubt about that. Birdie there, and then a bogey is a square. Okay, now if it was an eagle, it'd be a double circle. If it was a double bogey, it'd be a double square. Okay, so we know that the par on this particular course is a 72. The golf course recommends you use 36 shots in the first 9, 36 in the second 9, so it's 72. So rather than adding up all these numbers and trying to figure out what in the world my score was, I already know the total score for average is 72. Okay, so 1 under are circles, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, a bogey is minus or plus 1, right? So minus 8. Okay, so 8 from 72 is 64. Didn't have to add anything, and that took about 10 seconds. Maybe even less as you're counting along. Anyway, Jordan Spieth's scorecard, and that is a heck of a round for anybody, especially at one of the most difficult courses known to mankind over in Augusta, Georgia.
Jeez.
So
simple math, too. That's important.
Circles are birdies, squares are bogeys.
Good.
Count up your circles and squares at the end.
Right.
And then you'll be all set.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you watched our episode last spring when we went to Rivers Edge Golf, we also talked about, I think, the different areas where you would line up to shoot, and men versus women, and then the distance of a shot, the different markers, blue and red. So, I mean, there's lots of different things to know about golf, and that was our scorekeeping. At
Augusta National, they all line up at the same exact place.
Yes.
No matter their skill level.
That's wonderful.
Well, that was a good one, though. I like that.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone, for watching the Zaleski Sports Show. I'm your host, Rachel, and our sports expert, Jason. If you would like to see more of us, you can follow us on Facebook at Zaleski Sports Show, or you can find us on Twitter at Zaleski Sports.
And if you want to see nothing at all, turn the channel.
And make sure that you watch us. And have a good rest of your week.
Go Sports!